is Madison Moon, and tonight I am going to be sharing with you my absolute favorite nonfiction books. Now, disclaimer, I only started reading nonfiction like a couple years ago. I grew up only reading fiction because I thought nonfiction was boring. So I imagine there will be a part 2, a part 3, probably multiple parts over the years of me doing more nonfiction favorites. With that said, I will show you my favorites that I currently have read and currently own. I actually have a ton in my to-be-read stack that are nonfiction that I have a feeling I'm gonna like. So like I said, this is my favorites up until this point. But I'm reading a lot more nonfiction than I used to, so I imagine that my bookshelf will expand to include more nonfiction books. So, let's get into it. So, I finally got my copy back of this is my favorite nonfiction book of all time, mind you. And it's a weird one. But I had a friend had borrowed it, and I just got it back like 2 years later. It's called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Doughty. I don't know how to say her last name. So, this book is one of the most interesting books I have ever read, and I love it so much, and I always recommend it to people. So I had picked up this book around the time I started starting to read nonfiction books, and it inspired me to want to read more nonfiction books. So it's kind of a memoir, but basically Caitlin, the author, works in the funeral industry. She dives into the beginning of her life career in the funeral industry up until now. And it's funny, it's also dark, obviously it's dealing with death, but it is so good. I genuinely laughed out loud at some of the stories that she told in here, and it was so eye-opening. This book is mostly, to me, the takeaway is about celebrating death and talking about how we should get back to our roots of how we handle death. And I think it's just a really, really beautiful, and honestly, it's an uplifting book in my opinion. Also, it's just fascinating because, like I said, it dives into the history of the funeral industry, as well as why we are so afraid of death. And it's so good. It's so good. It's such a weird book, but I love this book so much. I can't say enough good things about it. So I highly recommend this book to anybody, and it's not even long. It's so good. So I want to read this book again. It was just so good. Okay, next is my other all-time favorite nonfiction book. These are all my favorites, but I wanted to start with my most favorite. Is Untamed by Glennon Doyle, and I recommend this book to everybody. Literally everybody. It's written for women, but it is so good, so good. If you're not familiar with Glennon Doyle, she is, she's pretty famous. She's similar to Brené Brown, except Glennon Doyle is not a psychologist. But basically, this book is about, it talks a little bit about her also delves into the complexity of being a woman and in regard to how society, families, how we are kind of forced into these roles and like these almost like characteristics, and we have to find out like who we really are and rediscover that sometimes, because we get really caught up in the roles that we play. And it's just so inspiring, and I mean, she's just a really good author too. She's written a few books, but it just generally talks about, like I said, how women get put into roles, how we get put into boxes, and how that makes us feel like absolutely crazy, because not only do we lose a sense of who we are, but we also feel like we can't really be ourselves, and that's a really tough thing to feel like. So it's really good. It's like I said, I recommend this book to literally every single woman I know. So if you're a woman, read it. Okay, next is a book I've talked about a lot. I love this book so much. I read this book fairly recently. It was probably like 6 months ago now, but whatever. It's called Funny Farm, My Unexpected Life with 600 Rescue Animals by Laurie Zaleski. And this is a memoir of sorts. I've read a lot of my favorite books are memoirs. But it's about this woman who ends up inheriting like this rescue farm, and all of the animals are like broken or like sick in some way, and it's like sad, but it's also so funny. Like, this is genuinely, some of the stories in here are so funny and heartwarming, and there are some sad parts, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you have rescue animals, it's not gonna be, you know, sunshine and rainbows. So, but genuinely, it's a very heartwarming book, and I just love this book. And so I love animals so much, so I want to always read anything that has to do with animals. And if I could have like a, significant acreage and have a zillion animals, that's what I would do with my life. It's just, animals are the best, truly. So, she has like dogs, cats, pigs, chickens, goats, pretty much anything. I think she'll take on like any type of animal. But it's very sweet, and it's a good story. Or a good memoir. I guess it's not really a story, but she has she has like social media pages too. I think it's called Funny Farm, and I follow those, and it's fun to see like the animals that she talks about in the book. There's pictures in here too, so you can see. And I think that the farm is in New Jersey. Yeah, New Jersey. I can't even imagine how expensive it would be to like only deal with like sick or injured animals. is so good. And the whole book is like a conversation between the two of them. So it's got like different colored writing, so you can tell who's talking. And so it's really written in a unique way, and I really like that. And it has some diagrams and stuff in there too to help kind of explain like how to actually put pictures to what they're talking about when it comes to brain science. So it's very good. I really, if you've experienced, or if you know somebody that's experienced some level of trauma, I highly recommend this book, because it's very accessible. It's not, gonna go over your head. And it's just really helpful. I think one of the best things that we can do to heal and become resilient from trauma, and so many of us have trauma, some that we don't even know about, is to understand it, and understand it on like a physiological, just understand every single aspect of trauma, because it's not just all in your head. So much of it is physiological. So it's so good. This is a great book. I highly recommend it. So, and this is the hardcover. I don't know if they have a paperback version, but the hardcover is very nice and aesthetic. Okay, next is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is very good. Another very accessible book. I'm very careful about the self-help books that I read, because I don't want to believe that any one person has the answer to everything, or like an entire topic of self-help. So, but this is just a unique way to build good habits and break bad habits. So, and it's very effective. A lot of people talk about this book, especially productivity experts talk a lot about this book and cite this book a lot. I found it very helpful. I have bad habits I'm trying to break, and have made significant progress because of this book, and trying to build good habits. So an example of a good habit that I'm trying to build is to actually work out almost every day. I would always tell myself that because I have curly hair, I didn't want to wash my hair every day, and I can't wash my hair every day. My hair would be like in horrible condition if I washed it every day, like most people's would. And so I'd be like, well, I can't work out because I can't wash my hair. So one of the things in this book is building good habits, is about how you can build good habits by making them easy. And there's many different ways to approach habits in this book, so it's like not a one-size-fits-all situation, which I appreciate, because if you have a specific excuse for a type of habit, whether you can or can't do it, it probably has a resolution for you in here, which I appreciate. There's just no excuses. So anyways, so I have found that there are specific workouts that I can do, Pilates, where it doesn't make my hair gross, or like I don't get so sweaty that like my hair becomes like nasty. So I can do Pilates every day on the days where I don't want to wash my hair. And so by making it easy for me, it's just, when you think about those things about removing barriers to habits so that you can build good habits, it's very helpful. So anyways, great book, very easy read too, truly like a breeze to read through. I have a lot of tabs on this one. Okay, next is a very funny book. It's by Lawson, and it's called Furiously Happy. And this book is a memoir. It's just really a series of stories of this woman, the author, who she's mentally ill, like so many of us are. And it's just like she has such a unique personality, that the stuff that she talks about, the stories that she talks about, that are examples of how her mental illness has impacted her life, is genuinely so funny, and it puts such a positive spin on like the ridiculousness sometimes of what our discusses the situations that they get us into. So it's just really, really, it's a very sweet book. It's so funny. It genuinely laugh out loud funny. And she is just such a weirdo, and I love her so much. I highly recommend this book. And yes, that is a taxidermied raccoon on the front of cover, and it's extremely happy, as you can see. And there's a whole story about this raccoon in the book, and you gotta read it. So I highly recommend this book to anyone, but especially people that struggle to see like the lighter side of being mentally ill, because even in my own life, there's things situations I've got myself into that, like, looking back now are like laughable, and just ridiculous. So it's a very fun book. I highly recommend it. Anyone can read this book. She's so weird, and I just love it. I can't express how weird she is, but like in the best way possible. So I've been described as weird many a times, so here we are. Okay, next is a book I read semi-recently also, and this book made me sob my eyes out. It's called Merle's Door, and it's by Ted Kerasote. Ted Kerasote. Anyway, it is a memoir about this dog that he found when he was hiking, and he lives in like remote Wyoming, and he was on a trip with some friends, and he found this stray dog, and he ends up just taking this dog with him, and now the dog, like, it's the story of his life with this dog. And of course I knew that the dog was going to die at the end, because that's how all of these go. So I was trying to prep myself for the end the whole time, and I still bawled my eyes out. But don't let that stop you from reading this book. I can't tell you how good it is. Not only is it beautiful to read about such a very, how do I put it? I mean, obviously, humans and animal relationships are precious and dear, especially like the dog-to-person relationship. But anyways, it's good because they live in remote Wyoming, and it's also so much about the appreciation of nature and about like the elements and the beauty of the world that we live in. And so it's just so much more than like just a story about a man and his dog. It's just beautiful, and the descriptions of, you know, this place that they live in is lovely. So, amazing book. If you're a dog lover or an animal lover, you have to read this book. Just trust me, it's so sweet and so precious. You will cry, but I promise it's worth it. It's amazing, and it'll make you like go want to give your dog like a bunch of like kisses. So it's so good, and the dog is so cute. It's amazing, and they have pictures of them together. And this dog lived such a good life, you guys. Like, living, he basically like didn't have to ever be like locked up, really. Like, he just lived his life in Wyoming, and everybody knew the dog, and it's so sweet. It's so sweet. It's funny though, it took me so long to read this book. My mother-in-law got me this book as a gift, and I didn't want to read it because I knew I would cry. And I like specifically don't watch like those types of dog movies. Like, I've never seen Marley and Me or those types of movies, because I don't want to go into something knowing I'm gonna sob, because I literally will cry at every animal thing ever. So I try to avoid those because I know myself. But this was worth it, so it was very good. Okay, next is, oh, this book is so beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. This is When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. And so Paul Kalanithi was a neurosurgeon, so a brain surgeon. And so he's consistently operating on people that have, you know, brain cancer or some kind of obviously very serious ailment, because it's in the brain. And he ends up, it's not a spoiler because it's like in the description, but he ends up getting cancer. And I want to say it's lung cancer. Yeah, stage 4 lung cancer. And it's just it is a sad book, I will say that. The book isn't even technically finished. It's finished. How do I explain this? He didn't finish writing the book because he ends up passing away, so his wife finishes the book. But it is absolutely beautiful because the entire book is focused on almost like the meaning of life, and it's so inspiring, and I wouldn't say heartwarming because it is sad, but not in like a way that you feel bad. You know how something can be sad, but it doesn't have to make you feel bad, if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense. But it just hits you in your soul, and it's just beautiful because this man, literally his life was focused on saving people's lives. You know, a neurosurgeon is one of like the most serious types of surgeons that there are, and often so many things can go wrong, and it's such a delicate, brain surgery is so delicate. And so to have all these people's lives in his hands, and then to turn around and get cancer, and ultimately pass away from said cancer, he could just see both sides of what it is to be human, and it's beautiful. I can't recommend this book enough. It's very short, sadly, but it's so good. You gotta read it. I'm telling you, it'll make you'll finish the book and you'll feel like you have a new appreciation for life, genuinely. At least that's how I felt. So you'll feel that way too. Okay, next, almost knocked my stack over, is Think Again by Adam Grant. And I just love this like blue match. I don't know why it's so simple, but I like it a lot. So this book is really hard to describe. I've tried to describe it before, and it's just the gist of it. Adam Grant's a really interesting person too. I think he's good friends with Brené Brown, and I think they've been like podcasts and done like talks together, but and I'm not even sure he's an organizational psychologist. But anyways, this book is basically about how almost like we should assume we know nothing in this world, and how it's a lot about how we can communicate better by being more open-minded, about how almost everything that we think can be challenged, and that's a good thing. It really opens the door for conversations, especially in a volatile time that we live in, where everybody's like on polar opposite of the spectrum of all issues. And so I feel like everybody should read this book. It's the book you want your like crazy uncle to read like before you hang out for Christmas. It's so good. It's so good, and it's humbling. It's a humbling book because it reminds you that, you know, even if you feel strongly about something, it doesn't mean that is factual, or like that's just the way that it is for everybody. And it's also inspiring because it's about like relearning things and like being curious and being excited to learn about new topics and new aspects of something, maybe even thought that you knew very intimately. So it's super good. I highly recommend it. And Adam Grant is like I said, he's very interesting, another very accessible author, and a lot of people really like him. So I need to read more books by him because he's written a few books. So I also like things that humble me because I think it's that we have in this world are because of our egos, right? And so it's so interesting when you have an issue arise in your life and you look at it from like, well, did I react because my ego reacted, or did I react because it's like how I genuinely felt about the thing, you know? And so, I don't know, that's a little bit of a tangent and not necessarily what this book is about, but it is, again, about humbling and not letting your ego get to you, I suppose. So, I don't know, I love this book. It's super good. I actually want to read it again. Okay, next, this is another book that I had lent out, and it's a little used up, but I love this book. It's so good, and I did not expect that I would love this book. It's a memoir. It's called Born to Run, A Hidden Tribe, Super Athletes, and the Greatest Race the World Has Ever Seen by Christopher McDougall. So, this book is about running. Like, yes, like the running. Which sounds so boring, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I would never read a sports book, trust me. I won't even watch any sports movies. Like, I genuinely could not care about sports. This is so good, guys. I could not put this down. It's so good. Okay, so it's about this man's journey where he learns about running, and it's mostly about this like secluded tribe that lives in Mexico, and they literally run, and they run like huge, like insane distances in like sandals, basically. And it's incredible to read about this tribe, and that's what it's about. So it's less about like the running aspect, which is interesting because it talks about like the science and biology of that and how that's even humanly possible. But it's mostly about this secluded tribe and their culture, and it's incredible. It's like watching a documentary. I loved it. It's really well written. I really liked it. It inspired me to go running for a while, and then I stopped because I remembered that I don't love running, but it did inspire me to run barefoot for a while, which was much more pleasant. And I run on a treadmill, so like not out on the pavement, but running barefoot I found was much easier than running in running shoes, because we're actually not meant to run in running shoes. And there's a whole explanation on that, which is in this book, so I'll let you read it for yourself, but it's fascinating, like truly fascinating. So, I promise you, it's not boring. If you're not a sports person, I promise you, you're not going to be bored, because neither am I. But this book is so good. It's like I said, it's like watching a documentary on like a very random topic that you're like fascinated by all of a sudden. You're like, I would never look that up on my own, but I'm here for it. So, it's very, very good. So, I like tell everybody to read this book, and they're probably like, Madison, I don't care, okay? I buy a lot of my books used, and this one came in kind of rough condition. The pages are like yellow and stuff, but I don't mind. I only don't like when pages have writing in them. I don't really care if they're like old or like the cover's kind of messed up or the pages are yellow. If I get writing in the margins, I am not a happy camper. So. Okay. I just realized I got to the last one. So the last book that I have for you is Atlas of the Heart by Brené Brown. This is the first Brené Brown book that I ever read, and I loved it. It's also very aesthetic. It's like a big, heavy hardcover book. I like the red. But it's basically a deep dive of individual emotions. So, and it's got like a lot of like really nice like graphics and stuff. But it was so enlightening. Oh my gosh. And again, very accessible. Brené Brown is such an accessible author. And when I say that, I mean that like you can read it and you don't feel like, oh my god, my brain hurts because I'm trying to understand this. I don't like to feel dumb complex into a accessible, digestible manner so that us normal people can, you know, understand it and actually utilize the information in there, because if something's too complex, I can't do anything with the information, and your normal average person can't either. So anyways, if you don't know who Brené Brown is, and I always forget because I think she has multiple titles, so she's a research professor at the University of Houston. I believe she's a psychologist too. Let's see. Why does this not give her? I swear she has a PhD. Yeah, okay. She has a PhD and a Master of Social Work, so a few degrees. But anyways, she does a ton of research on psychological research. Besides the point. So, this book dives into individual human emotions, and it's so many. It's so much more than just like sad, mad, happy, glad, jealous. Like it's so much more. I think there's like 100 or something. 87 emotions and experiences that define what it means to be human. And what's so great about this book is that it puts a name to emotions that we don't know how to like verbalize. So like you can say, you know, I feel jealous, I feel sad, I feel mad, and like that's an umbrella term for a lot, for more complex, like smaller feelings. So this book breaks those down and explains in detail what these emotions are, what they mean, and why we should care about that. And it's helpful for like communicating with people. So if you're upset about something or you're feeling a certain type of way, you can express yourself better because after reading this book, because it helps you put a name to what you're feeling and also just understand yourself better, get to know yourself better. And it's all about like meaningful connection and vulnerability, which is like a huge thing in Brené Brown's whole thing is vulnerability and the power of vulnerability. She got famous from a TED Talk called The Power of Vulnerability, and she's just amazing. So anyways, highly recommend this book. If you haven't read anything by Brené Brown, I haven't read all of her books. I read Daring Greatly, and that one was okay. This one, I feel like, in my opinion, is just such a good one that I think everyone should read. It's incredible, and I probably should read it again because, you know, it's got a lot of information in here. So, and it wasn't a particularly long read because the font is pretty big. So, anyways, so yeah, that is to date my favorite nonfiction books that I own. So, like I said, there will most likely be more parts down the line because I have a ton literally in my house on my shelf that I haven't read yet, and I've been enjoying more nonfiction. I typically try to read one nonfiction and a fiction book at the same time, so that I kind of have like the best of both worlds. So, but right now I'm not doing that because I'm reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. And it's a 1,000-page epic fantasy book if you're not familiar with it. So that is all I'm reading in my free time right now because I'll never, and I already feel like I'm never going to finish it, but I'll never finish it if I was also reading a nonfiction book. So anyways, with that being said,